All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be volume 1 in a new series that I'm starting called Manhood Under Attack. And this first entry is going to be featuring Mr. Terrence Williams, Miss Serena Williams, Allstate Insurance, and a new concept that has been concocted by the upper reaches of the quote-unquote global elite, aka the worshipers and the venerators of the mother goddess, that they're calling financial abuse. Now, brothers, I just want to create a hypothetical scenario for you so that we understand exactly what we're dealing with here. Imagine that you had a homeboy who decided to get married. He was just out of prison, fresh out the pen. He happened to meet a very well-to-do young lady who had been able to have herself be promoted to some of the upper levels of her corporation. She was making $250K a year. Let's say maybe even as low as $150K a year. He was living at home, high off the hog, just chilling. But he started to complain to you one day and say, you know what? This chick gives me her debit card or her credit card, but she tells me that wherever I go, I have to bring her back the receipts to prove what I spent all her money on, exactly where I went, and beyond that, when I do go shopping for food, she tells me what grocery store to go to. Wouldn't you say to him, you know, you need to be thankful for that broad, because you didn't have shit coming into the relationship? And if he became so disgruntled that he tried to complain about it publicly, or even divorce her because of it, and claim that he was being financially abused, wouldn't people say, he's a real low-life nigga? He's a poor excuse for a man. He's a scrub-ass dude. Wouldn't people say that? And would they not congratulate that woman for making sure that she understood exactly how her money was being spent? Especially other women. They would say, girl, you smart, because you know how these niggas are. He take your debit card and go out on dates with other girls while you at work. He'd go and buy up Timberland boots and new jeans and jackets and coats, and next thing you know, leave you for the next woman. Girl, you smart. See, brothers, that's how I like to lay out situations. I like to put a mirror up in front of people to get them to see what exactly they agree with, to help them understand how hypocritical they are when the roles are reversed and they take the diametrically opposed position. That goes to show you that they have an agenda and that they're biased. And that's the condition of the battle in this society right here, because Serena Williams has decided that she's going to allow herself to be used as the face of a new concept that's going to be pushed on men to attack manhood, known as financial abuse. And the concept of financial abuse is that men who marry women who don't have jobs don't have the right to tell that woman what she should be doing with his money, and don't have the right to tell that woman that she has to inform him of how his money was spent, and he also does not have the right to tell her where to go to spend his money. That basically is the overall definition of financial abuse, as one person is going to try to describe it. They're also going to elongate the definition to include men who have credit cards or debit cards given to them in the name of their sponsor, i.e. their more affluent significant other, and he runs up the credit card or the debit card. But we know why that is. It's because the woman's been digmatized. My point is this: women understand that when they have a man under their thumb, that they have the right to dictate things to that man. But because they're trying to tear down manhood, they're now going to try to make men feel embarrassed, shamed, or even criminalized by telling a woman that they have the right to know how their money's being spent, especially when she doesn't have shit. So of course they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Tennis champion Serena Williams is a powerhouse when it comes to her sport and her fashion line and motherhood. But she's also using her status as a force for good. Williams is now the national ambassador for the Allstate Foundation Purple Purse program.
Brothers, let me say this. All of these corporations who've decided to declare war on men, and we know whenever a corporation declares war on men, they're declaring an accentuated level of war or an amplified level of war on the so-called black man. We have to stop servicing these corporations. That means Gillette. That means Allstate. That means that we don't deal with them. That means that when Serena Williams is on TV, those of you brothers who have a backbone and understand what she's about, you have to stop watching her tennis matches, because she declared war on the so-called black man a very long time ago. These super liberal females, they get on television and talk about the race aspect just to get attention for themselves, when their true goal is to push and promote toxic feminism. That's all it's about. And Gayle King is one of them, with her old ass.
They released this PSA, which sheds light on financial abuse. It's a serious issue that's affected a very close friend of hers.
Quote unquote, a very close friend of hers, allegedly. even though I believe that it was her. Brothers, and we all know dudes like this. They don't have shit. They put the whammy on some broad who has a great job. She takes him in, basically treats him like, you know, an older son or an oldest son that she's getting robbed from. She gives him permission to use her car, use her credit cards, use her debit cards. And when the relationship eventually explodes, like it always will, because the woman is programmed to not respect men who are under her thumb, she's going to claim that she got taken advantage of. Brothers, that's why I have a series called Never Let a Woman Maintain You. Never let a woman maintain you. Because as a man, the first entity that we have to examine is ourselves. The woman is never going to examine herself first. She's never going to hold herself accountable. She's always going to try to point the finger at men. And when I say woman, I mean the vast majority of them. Are there exceptions to the rule? Of course. But the vast majority of women are going to look to see if there's someone else that they can blame. And in this climate of attacking not just men, but manhood, because there's a difference. When they're attacking men, that's normally an individual or a man who's in power. When they're attacking manhood, they're basically saying that you don't have the right to naturally be who and what you are. Whatever the attributes or the characteristics of a man are, whether it be leadership or authoritativeness, they're trying to tear that down. They're trying to strip the man of his spine and make him embarrassed to be in an authoritative or leadership position.
Correspondent Jerika Duncan spoke to Williams about this issue. Jerika, good morning. What did you learn?
Jerika Duncan, another single so-called black female on television, mad at men, trying to push and promote witchcraft by casting these spells, attacking men. Brothers, that's all this is about. Believe it or not, a lot of these people behind closed doors are witches. What they're trying to promote with a lot of this toxic feminism is a concept that I'm going to expound upon in another video, known as the concept of the twin flames. Meaning they're trying to push past the divine masculine or the masculine principle and promote the feminine principle or the essence of Isis. They're trying to marginalize the essence of quote-unquote Asar or Osiris. That's the ritual that they're playing out by constantly trying to attack manhood. But once again, I'll be addressing that concept a bit deeper in other videos.
Morning, I learned that this is an issue a lot of people aren't talking about.
Because the issue doesn't exist. Brothers, they're basically going to let you know that they've made up the concept of financial abuse as something new. Many of the anchors on this segment are going to say, financial abuse, I've never heard of that. Or as she just stated, no one is talking about it. You know why? Because it doesn't exist. There is no such thing as someone abusing you financially. If you decide to enter into a relationship with someone, you either have your own income or you don't. You allow someone to utilize your income for their own benefit or you don't. As a man, when you enter into a relationship with a female and she has her own job and her own money, that's even better for you. Once again, we're not supposed to be taking the vast majority of these females seriously enough to even consider them wife material until they prove that over a time span of months to years, depending on your level of discernment. For you to say, you know what, I'm just going to take all her money and make her bow down to me, that's not realistic. And for the most part, that's not happening today. But they're going to try to act as if or imply as if that's what's going on. Most people enter into relationships today out of convenience. Many females enter into relationships with nothing. And after a while, they start to build themselves up through the help of a man and then try to claim that they've been misused by that man so that they have an excuse to depart without feeling guilty. The modern day liberal female loves to play the victim role.
To end domestic violence says financial abuse occurs in nearly all domestic violence cases.
That's interesting. She stated that financial abuse occurs in almost all domestic violence cases. She must be speaking about the men who don't have money. Because as I've already told you, brothers, in many videos, a lot of cats try to shack up underneath these women and don't understand the level of impudence that they're going to be confronted with after a while when they're not bringing in any money. And then, after a period of time, they lash out at the woman for constantly being disrespected, start to hit her, and it escalates. Because you're frustrated at you being financially impotent and subjecting yourself to the vitriol of the woman. The woman by nature is going to become vitriolic if you're not bringing in money. So that's why it's best for you to work on yourself and have your own, let her have her own. And if the woman does not have anything and she comes up under you, she is going to have to understand that you call the shots. That's why I state there's no such thing as financial abuse. They made it up. It's common knowledge that whoever controls the money or controls the gold calls the shots. That's common sense, whether it's man or woman.
It's a fact that got the attention of Serena Williams, who's lending her.
Bullshit. Nothing got the attention of Serena Williams. These major corporations, starting with Nike, they approach their assets and they state, this is what we want you to dispense to the masses. It's more Marxism. That's all it is. Marxism cloaked as activism. They're trying to figure out a way to force the feminine principle on the masses of people.
Voice to a campaign about the warning signs.
Serena Williams.
She's fierce on the court with a nearly 25-year professional tennis career that includes 23 Grand Slam singles titles.
Bullshit. All Serena Williams is another narcissist overdosing on her own fame. That's all this person is.
4 Olympic gold medals. But Serena Williams, one of the most successful female athletes in the world, is giving voice to an issue rarely talked about.
I had no
Because it doesn't exist.
idea what financial abuse was.
Now, brother, did you hear that? I'm going to rewind this back a moment. Terrence said that she had no idea what financial abuse was. Let me rewind this back.
I had no idea what financial abuse was.
Because it doesn't exist. Serena Williams. You and me both know that. You and me both know that you've had quote-unquote boyfriends who were not making any money. You were giving them access to your debit card, to your car, if they put good enough rod on you, and you didn't give a shit. You only got upset when you started to realize that the relationship was going nowhere and that they had no aspirations. So now you can claim that you've been financially abused.
When I read that 99% of domestic violence cases do involve financial abuse.
Brothers, did you hear that? Terrence stated that 99% of domestic violence cases involve financial abuse. How the hell do you even validate or verify that stat? Who gathered the information on that one? It's very obvious that this is a ploy to once again try to separate the man and the woman and make the female believe that men are trying to control them through money, when actually it's always been the opposite. The woman has tried to siphon money from the man, and when she has her own money, she normally is far more frugal with the funds that she allots to her man who does not have a job than the other way around. The man tends to give more money to the woman who does not have a job than the woman gives to a man who does not have a job. So therefore, the woman exerts more power because she gives him less funds and threatens to cut him off easier than a man does who has a wife or someone who does not have their own income.
I felt like that was a really, really high number, and
It's not just a high number, it's an astronomical number, and it's a number that does not exist, it's not real.
shocking.
Financial abuse is defined as an abuser taking control of finances to prevent the other person from leaving to maintain power in a relationship.
Well, here's my issue with that. One would assume that the woman or the man who entered that convention was already broke. It wasn't like they had a lot of money coming in and said to themselves, I'm going to quit my job so that I could just live off this other person's funds. That doesn't happen. So you came into the relationship with nothing. Therefore, you gave power over to that other person from the jump. So once again, there's no such thing as financial abuse. What happens over the course of these relationships is that people are actors and actresses. They have agendas when they enter into relationships with people that they know have money. They don't have anything to their name. They say to themselves, I need a place to stay. I want to go to school. Hopefully this person will assist me in that. And once they get their degree and they start to believe that they can stand on their own too, suddenly they don't need their sponsor anymore. So now it's, this person's trying to oppress me with their money. They think that they can control me with their debit cards, so on and so forth. When in all reality, you just want out. Now let me just read on here. It states, an abuser may take control of all the money, withhold it, and conceal financial information from the victim. Financial abuse happens often in physically abusive relationships. Financial abuse can also happen in elder abuse when a relative, friend, or caregiver steals money from an older person. Now, that last sentence is the only real financial abuse. In the second sentence, it states, an abuser may take control of all the money, withhold it, and conceal financial information from the victim. That's not possible if the other person has a bank account or some other form of financial institution that's in their name. The only way that a person can withhold your financial information from you is if you give it to them and you don't remember what the numbers are. you can always go to the police or to court and tell those institutions that your information is being withheld from you. So there's no such thing as financial abuse. These are people who are entering relationships with nothing other than their vagina or their penis. But in this case, it's talking about the vagina because they're not talking about men, because they don't care about men. They're trying to attack men in this segment here. It's a woman who came into the relationship with nothing and decided that she wanted to leave after a while, but she has to villainize her quote-unquote significant other, the man.
Williams says she's seen the impact, not for herself, but through a friend.
Quote-unquote, a friend. Believe me, this happened to Serena Williams. I promise you. One of those rappers who was busting her wide open back in the 2000s or early 2010s, got a debit card or a credit card from her, probably crashed her car or some shit. And she's still tight about that. She heard about this new concept of financial abuse and said, this happened to me. And if it did happen to one of her female friends, it was one of her female friends who is quote unquote affluent, who got, into a relationship with one of these dudes fresh out of prison or a rapper, and they got done dirty by that person. So a lot of it is just bitter female nonsense.
A friend of mine was going through a situation that wasn't really healthy for her, wasn't healthy for her friends or her family, and it was difficult to tell her. And then I realized, look, oh my goodness, she's all the signs that I was learning about with financial abuse she was involved in. It was really intense.
Yeah, you're talking about your damn self, because you finally came across some dude who actually has a bigger rod than you, and you were mesmerized. You said, oh shit, I'm gonna give this man my debit card, my credit card, my favorite tennis racket. He can have it all. The keys to my Ferrari.
Your partner takes credit cards out in your name and maxes them out. That's a sign.
Williams teamed up with the Allstate.
Terrence said, your partner takes debit cards and credit cards out in your name and maxes them out. That's a sign. Oh, you think?
Foundation to release an ad called Signs to help educate people about financial abuse.
When I was married, I wasn't allowed to control the money.
So in other words, your husband was very smart.
Didn't have access to the checking account.
Of course you didn't have access to the checking account because you didn't have a job. Why would he give you access to his checking account if you were a stay-at-home wife? That makes no sense whatsoever. And you entered into the relationship without anything.
Kelly DeVito says she knows the signs firsthand. For 17 years, she was married to a man she says financially abused her.
AKA, for 17 years, she was married to a very shrewd man with a backbone.
I had to get permission to buy groceries. I was told what stores to go to buy various items.
Once again, brothers, if the roles were reversed and this story was about a man stating that he needed permission to go and buy groceries, or he was told by his woman what stores to go to buy certain items, don't you think that Jerika Duncan and Gayle King would say, that's a very smart woman? Because if you just gave that man full license to buy whatever he wanted, oh, he would be dating other women. Wouldn't they say that? It's very clear that this woman's husband was very intelligent. And the issue is that they quote unquote outgrew one another. In other words, she became empowered enough to execute her disloyalty. And I say disloyalty because if you enter the convention with a certain understanding and all of a sudden you buck up down the line, you're disloyal to the convention that you agreed to, no matter how unfair you think it is. I have no problem with a man and a woman having their own thing. As a matter of fact, for you brothers, it's probably for the best that a woman have her own thing, and that you not only have your own account, but that you have your own place. But if you enter into the convention and the woman knows she don't have shit, and she's using you to subsidize her life because she needs you, down the line you're going to talk about how that man was financially abusing you when you never had a damn thing? Get the fuck out of here.
The receipt when it was given to me.
Yes, that's what he's supposed to ask for. I need the receipt. Why is that? Because he probably was going to do taxes at the end of the year, and he had to compute how much he had to pay in taxes and how much he should be expecting in return. That's why people ask for receipts.
The preschool teacher rarely told anyone.
Anytime I said anything, people would say, did he hate you? At least he doesn't hate you. And so it does make you feel shame. It makes you think, well, maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah, in other words, they were letting you know you're a bum bitch. You don't have a damn thing. This dude's taking care of you and you're still complaining. And certain people might not like that I use that term bum bitch, but I promise you, if the roles were reversed and it was a man who was doing those things, he'd be called a bum ass nigga, he'd be called a scrub.
Says it was her children that gave her the courage to leave.
My kids were 11 and 14 at the time, and I was like, what am I showing my 14-year-old son? I didn't want.
Bullshit. What happened was when your children were around 11 and 14 years of age, you met somebody else who gave you some good rod, you had an affair, and you decided that you were going to empower yourself, get a job, and finally move on and start a new life. That's what happened if I be a betting man.
I think that this is how a man treats a woman. And I didn't want my daughter to think that this is what we do, that we're submissive to a man.
Brothers, you hear that? She stated that she did not want her daughter to believe that she should be submissive to a man. And I have no problem with women being forthright about that. But what you're stating is that you don't believe that the man is your head. That's why I state there's really no such thing as husband-wife. You're corporate partners in this society. Whatever the functionality is of your relationship is your business. But just understand what you're getting into. That concept of husband-wife is no more in Western civilization. You're now corporate partners. So that's why I have videos on the concept of should men fall in love. You don't intermix emotions with business. Relationships today are business. I hope you brothers understand that.
Vito took her now ex-husband to court, claiming he financially abused her. He denied all her allegations in his court filings.
Of course he denied it because he didn't understand what the hell she was talking about. Financial abuse? Like, bitch, I took care of you for 20 years. You making up terms on me now in court, bitch?
Financial abuse is one of the main reasons victims of domestic violence can't leave.
No, being broke is the main reason why, quote-unquote, victims of domestic violence can't leave. You guys are trying to create and concoct some new term for being a broke woman.
3 million children will witness domestic violence. How important is that when you think about your own family, when you think about your role as a mother, and putting your voice behind a cause like this?
I feel like a responsibility to make people know more about things like financial abuse.
You need to stop abusing your damn eyebrows. Look like two caterpillars on top of your eyes.
And how to avoid it. Like, I want to teach my daughter everything about it. And if I have more kids and if I happen to have a boy, I want to teach him about it. So he
can be spineless and a simp. Brothers, the liberal black female has two goals for your son. Either be a homosexual or a simp. Well, you know, there's a third option. Become a transgender so that he can fully convert to womanhood like his mother taught him, because they're trying to shame all manhood out of young boys. You either have to be spineless or become a homosexual or transition over to a woman. That's the point. These females are so concerned with programming young boys. Who are they to program a boy? That's what little esteem they hold manhood in.
Not a part of the problem and only adds to the solutions.
I do have more times now
And we know that women are so good with societal solutions.
where I feel strong and empowered by my choices.
DeVito now shares her story with domestic violence survivors, many of whom have experienced
Well, here's the problem. She was never the victim of domestic violence, as she herself stated. So why is she sharing anything with domestic violence survivors? All she was a broke chick who lived under a man for 17 years.
abuse.
When you feel invalidated, disrespected, afraid, silenced, verbally, emotionally, sexually, financially, or physically abused, it's not a healthy relationship.
And none of those things happen to you.
You need to leave for your.
That's the operative portion of her sentence. You need to leave. They're constantly trying to encourage females to leave men. So once again, understand what you're getting yourself into when you decide to quote unquote marry a woman, aka a corporate merger, or when you decide to impregnate her. Okay?
For your children and for your life.
Now these photos look like they were taken back probably in the mid to late 1980s, maybe early 1990s. So that was a different time period back then. That was when men understood that, well, at least partially, men understood that they were the heads of the household. And she was made to understand that she should be thankful for what he was doing. That's why when she tried to complain to other people, they asked her, is he hitting you? Like, what really are you mad about? The real issue is that she felt like she was being constrained. She wanted to go out and have her whore period. A lot of these women, they really just want to have about a 3 or 5 year stretch where they could sleep with various men, go to the bar. As you can see in these old photos, she has no tattoos on her forearms. But when we see her today, she has big tats on both of her forearms. So she was just lusting to be a wild chick.
Andrika joins us at the table here. It's a powerful piece, and I don't think a lot of people have ever heard this term.
Yes, it's a powerful piece of shit.
Financial abuse. So what should they know about it? What are the red flags?
You know, brothers, let me rewind this back really quick because Tony DeCopel made a statement that I want to make sure that everybody heard.
Andrika joins us at the table here. It's a powerful piece, and I don't think a lot of people have ever heard this term financial abuse.
The reason why people have never heard of this term financial abuse is because it does not exist. But if we were to create a real definition for the term financial abuse, it would be appropriately applied to females who purposefully try to get impregnated by affluent men so that they can run them back and forth to court for child support payments. Financial abuse would be females who actually seek out sponsors or sugar daddies. Financial abuse would be females who claim to be or alleged to be one type of person until they get married, and then they seek to get a divorce so that they can get half that man's money. Financial abuse will be females who seek to have prenuptial agreements broken in a court of law so that they can get as much money as they can. That is financial abuse. But we're not going to talk about it from that angle. Once again, you're going to try to demonize men because there's an attack on manhood. And the woman is doing this to try to fulfill her urge to be an agent of chaos, knowing damn well that they're not leaders. And that's the reason why I make these videos. The woman is pushing these notions knowing that she cannot replace men. She's just doing it because she's being told and prodded by those behind the curtain to do so.
What should they know about it? What are the red flags?
Well, a lot of these things start off subtly, so it's not something maybe that would be a red flag. You know, someone's kind of monitoring the money or handling the finances, but it really...
In other words, someone with a spine.
Control. So maybe making sure you don't have access to certain accounts or even prohibiting you from going to school.
Now, brothers, that last portion that she mentioned about a woman wanting to go back to school or go to school and men trying to impede them is very important. It's very pertinent to the overall conversation. It's something that brothers have to understand. Once again, I'm just stating my perspective on this. A lot of cats become insecure when their woman tells them that they want to go back to school. Men subconsciously, some men, not all men, but some men start to believe that they're going to lose control of the relationship, that they're going to lose that person or lose that woman. You cannot be concerned about that. The essential nature of the woman is that she is a seeker of sensations. She always wants to try something new. That's why you encounter so many of these females who talk about how they're going back to school or been in school for 25 years and still don't know shit, because that's just their nature. It's very important that modern day men learn to understand the woman. Stop trying to change them. Stop trying to stop them from proceeding to wherever they want to go. You have to be focused on higher things, the Most High, and the accrual of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and money. That's the important aspects of life in this society for the man, for the so-called black man, which is who my channel is geared towards. Don't try to stop your woman from going back to school if she wants to go back to school. If she meets some other dude in one of her classes, if she elevates herself and goes and joins the corporate world, that's her business. A lot of dudes try to stop these females from doing these things because they have a fear that the woman is going to leave them. You cannot fear anything in the flesh ending. Everything in the flesh is going to end. All right? The firmer you hold on to that woman, the more likely she's going to slip away, slip through your fingers. I did a video about this. The film Revenge of the Sith basically was about the fall of Anakin Skywalker, but it was due to his over-obsession with his mother and with his woman. And there was a pivotal scene in the film where Yoda told him that he had to learn to lose everything that was of value to him. And if he could not do that, he was going to fall prey to the dark side. And so many cats fall prey to the proverbial dark side. They start to abuse the woman because they're scared of where she's going to go. Let her go. If she's yours, she'll come back. If she's not, good riddance. It's okay.
It's a power dynamic in the same way that domestic violence is.
I would bet some people can be financially abused and don't even know they're being financially abused because they're thinking he or she just cares about me and is taking good care of me.
Correct. And I think when you look historically, 50 years ago, that was the case with, a lot of families, a lot of men were taking that lead. Now,
No, actually 50 years ago, men were doing what they've always done, which is lead society, which is what they're still doing today. At the end of the day, you're on television because they have a certain role for you to play, but you're never going to be a leader in a pivotal position. They will allow a woman to ascend to a certain level, but men who actually understand money and commerce know that that you cannot have a woman in a position that's going to affect a great mass of people commercially or monetarily, because for the most part their brains don't work on a three-dimensional scale. I'm sure a lot of people are not going to like that, but it is what it is. You cannot just say, well, 50 years ago men were leading because they were allowed to. No, men were leading because that's what men have always done. They've always built society. They've built civilizations. A woman has never built a civilization, never has and never will.
Purple Purse Initiative is providing domestic abuse survivors with a step-by-step financial empowerment curriculum. If you or someone you know is suffering from any form of domestic abuse, reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1.
If you or anyone you know is suffering from financial abuse, aka being a bum-ass person, then you can call this number. Brothers, you notice how they've concocted this, but this is clearly geared towards the woman, because there's no way in the world that a man is going to call up this number and say, hey, I'm laying on my woman's plush leather couch. I feel like I'm being financially abused. Okay, sir, why is that? Well, she took away some of the channels from my cable package, and now, I'm here watching Lifetime and OWN. I can't watch ESPN anymore. Can you help me? They're going to hang up the phone. Click. Hello.
1-800-799-7233. And of course,
good for Serena too for giving this a voice. Yeah, very important.
Right, but the concept that you guys covered in the segment was financial abuse, but this person, Jerika Duncan, is talking about domestic abuse. So they're trying to correlate these things. In other words, brothers, to make a long story short, if you try to be the head of the household, they're going to accuse you of domestic abuse.
The importance of equal pay. Exactly. Sometimes you don't leave because you can't afford it.
This simp, Tony DeCopel, said that's the importance of equal pay, because sometimes you don't leave because you cannot afford to leave. So he's speaking from the perspective of the woman because he's a simp. No, people don't leave because they cannot afford to leave, because they don't have shit. That's the point of the entire segment, and that's the point of the video. There's no such thing as financial abuse. You're just a have-not. That's why you entered the relationship in the first place. But I know why he did that, because it would not surprise me if this person, Tony DeCopel, is banging a couple of these anchors. He's one of these super liberal dudes, even though I believe he's married off screen. A lot of these guys understand that all you have to do is act as if you're simpatico with some of these agendas that these liberal females are pushing, and you can get the draws easy. Look at how this female, Jerika Duncan, is looking at him. She's like, oh my God, what a special white man. Oh my God, I wish I could take off these panties. But anyway, just to get back to the point, that's something for brothers to listen out for. That term financial abuse is one of many terms that they've concocted over the last 10 years to try to attack manhood, financial abuse, cisgender, things of that nature. So peace.